Hey guys, so this week we're going to be working on ordered pairs, and we've actually learned this already at school. We did coordinate pairs at Christmas time. You guys had a mystery picture, and once you did all the different coordinates, it turned out to be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper. So far, we've only been doing coordinate pairs in the first quadrant. So what that means is we've been working with only positive numbers. So what we learned before was that these two lines are called axes. And this one that goes up and down is called y. This is the y-axis. And the one that goes sideways is called the x-axis. And all that, the axis just means it's a line. Literally, that's all it means. X is all of the lines that go left to right. Y is all the lines that go up and down. Remember, we talked about that ordered pairs are two sets of numbers. So we might have 3, 2. And remember, the first number represents the x-axis, and the second number is the y-axis. How you can remember which one you do first, you can think about it alphabetically. X comes before y, so that means that I have to do my x first. That means that I have to come over 3 first, then I go up 2, and right where those two lines cross, I put a dot, and that is my point. So that is, I'm going to write it right next to it, that is 3, 2. Now we learned this already. What we haven't learned yet is that you can name this point. So I can call this anything I want. I can call this A, I can call this J, I can call it Z, whatever letter I want to call it, I can. Or I could make it into a star, or I can make it into a fish, or I can make it into anything I want. Right now I'm just going to label it A, because that's my first point I've made. So this is point A. So I could say point A, you can find point A at 3, 2. Right? So we've done this a lot, and you might have a whole list of them. Another way you can remember that you have to go over on the x-axis first is you can think of this like a building, and you have to go, you can think of this kind of like a building, and you have to go through the hall first before you can get on the elevator and go up and down. So we worked on this a lot. I know that you guys are really familiar with this, so we are going to add another level to coordinate pairs. So now, like I said, we've been working in the positive areas, but this is the interesting part. This is like a number line, and this is like a number line. Right here, this 0, this is the origin, because everything comes to this point. All of these numbers end up going to the point where the two axes cross, and that is called the origin. So that O is a 0, but it's called the origin. The origin just means that's where the two axes cross. That's all it means, just where they come together. So this point is 0, because it's the 0 on this line and the 0 on this line. Now what's interesting is on a number line, you can go forward and backwards on the numbers. So sometimes there's negative numbers on the number line. So really, what we're looking at here is only one part of the whole thing. So what we really have, this is the full coordinate plane. So you can see that I start at 0, and my numbers, they can go into infinity. I only went to 5. And then they can go up this way. But once you cross the origin, now we're in negative numbers. So right here, what's less than 0? Well, I go back 1, then I'm -1. Go back another one, -2, -3, -4, -5. If these are going up positively, then anything past the 0, they're going down negatively. So these are called different quadrants. So it's called a quadrant because this whole thing is split into 4 different parts. So this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. You can kind of see how there's like a little square, like kind of a little square it makes, you know what I mean? So this one is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Doesn't really matter if you know which what one is called. Just know there's different quadrants. So the cool thing is now we might get ordered pairs that look like this. Let me get a good color. So now we might get ordered pairs that look like this. Now remember, it goes X comma Y. So even though we're dealing with the other quadrants, X still comes first, Y still comes second. So this one right here we did was 3 comma 2. What if I did 3 comma negative 2? Whoa. Okay. Actually really easy. All you have to do is it's telling me what to do. It's saying go over 3, and then since that negative sign is there, it's telling me to go down 2. So I always start at the origin. Always start at the 0, the origin. So I start here, and it's literally telling me what to do. It's telling me to go over 3 and down 2. So I go over 1, 2, 3, and then I go down to negative 2, and I put a little dot there. And we're going to call that one B, because it's the second one I did. Let's do a bunch of examples. All right, my next 2 examples are opposites. So I have 4 comma negative 1 first for C, and then D is negative 1 comma 4. So you can see that I just flipped around the numbers. Now, because I have to follow a certain order, even though I had the same numbers, because the numbers are in different orders and I have to follow the XY order, my dots are going to end up being in completely different places. So first, for C, I'm going to start at the origin. You always have to start at the origin if you're doing coordinate pairs. So I start at the origin, and then it's telling me to, for letter C, it's telling me to go over 4 and down 1. So I'm going to go over to 4, and then I'm going to go down 1. I'm going to make a dot right there, and that is letter C. So that is 4 comma negative 1. Now I'm going to do negative 1 comma 4. So what that means, since it's a negative 1, I have to go into the negatives. Again, I'm going to start at the origin. It's telling me to go to negative 1 first. So I'm going to go to negative 1. So instead of going this way, we're going the other way. So it says to go to negative 1, then it tells me to go to 4. So it does not have a negative sign here, so that means we're going to go up. So I go over 1, and I'm going to go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I put my dot right there. That's over negative 1, up 4, and that would be point D. So you can see that that's definitely a different spot. Just because they have the same numbers doesn't mean that they're going to be in the same spot. All right, so I know that I need to go into the negatives for the x-axis and negatives for the y-axis. So all I have to do is follow directions. Simple as that. So I always start at the origin. I'm going to go over 2 on the x-axis. So I'm going to go over 2. Now it's telling me to go down 2, because the negatives, you go down. So now I'm going to go down 2. And right there, where those 2 lines meet, that is where my point is going to be. So that point would be called E. All you have to do when you have to label a point is you just got to put it right next to it. It's really not that big a deal. It doesn't matter which side you put the letter on. It's just putting the letter right next to the dot so that you know that that's the dot's name. What you guys are going to get is you are going to be getting some mystery pictures, and you're going to be able to draw those mystery pictures, and it's just like what we did in school, but now instead of just having the 1 quadrant, you have all 4 quadrants. So you're going to have to be really careful and really follow the directions, because if you accidentally go into the positives when you were supposed to go into the negatives, then you're going to have your dot in the wrong spot. So it's going to be a little test to see how well you can follow directions here. But I actually think these are kind of fun, and they're kind of like a little treasure map. And this is actually how maps work. You learned in social studies how there's latitude and longitude. Literally what this is, latitude and longitude. You can use this on a map, and you can find different places on a map. So this is very, very, very relevant to real life. There's lots of real life things that you could use this for.